All right, we are here at the Oceana Air Show. It's windy, it's noisy with jets. It's exactly what we want. And we are here with Grouse, Marty Wilson, a Super Hornet pilot that's part of the Rhino demo team. Grouse, it's good to see you.
Oh, thank you, Ward. Thank you for having me here. It's good to be here.
So, are you guys performing today?
So the Rhino demonstration team is going to perform today. It's going to be Lieutenant Ryan Garcia, call sign Peaches, is going to be in the front seat. And then Lieutenant Jake Broker, call sign Thumb Thumb, the corn-fed big head dancing bear, will be in the back seat. So I'll be narrating
like
today.
Too many syllables for a call sign.
It is. Most of the time we just call him Dancing Bear.
What fleet squadron were you in?
So I was in Strike Fighter Squadron 2-2, the Fighting Redcocks out of Lemoore, California. I was a student here at VFA 106, and the Navy sent me out to California, and then I got lucky enough to get sent back here.
So you're a RAG instructor now at 106?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, so talk to us about the Rhino. What is that airplane's advantages? What do you like about the Super Hornet?
The Legacy Hornet was about 30% smaller than the Super Hornet. And there's a distinct little antenna dome on the front of the Super Hornet, and that's where it gets the name Rhino. So, as I said, it's 30% larger. It carries 40% more fuel. The avionics and combat systems are far more advanced in the Super Hornet than was in the Legacy Hornet. So the system integration that we have, the sensors that we have at our fingertips are much more capable. They're much easier to work with, and so it just makes it a much more capable platform, both in the air-to-air and air-to-surface arena.
So talk to us about the demo. What's the purpose of the demo? Obviously, it's to show what the airplane can do, but why is it designed the way it is?
So in the demonstration, there's going to be some what I would call some pretty run-of-the-mill maneuvers that you're going to see at air shows, like tuck unders with aileron rolls, us going slow, us going fast. But there are a couple maneuvers that we do that really show off how capable the flight control system is in the Super Hornet. You know, 2 flight control computers with 2 redundant channels, and just how intuitive the system is. So everybody's heard the term fly-by-wire, but we don't use that term for the Super Hornet. We use the term control-by-wire, where we put an input into the controls, and that flight control computer pulls in all kind of information, the humidity, the wind speed, the altitude, everything, with an innumerable amount of calculations per second. And it says, okay, I understand what you want me to do. This is what I am going to deliver for you. And it does it so well. And there are a couple maneuvers where we can really showcase that capability. We do what we call a flat pirouette, where we put an input into the controls, and it allows us to yaw the nose of the aircraft very aggressively and very quickly while still remaining controllable in the aircraft.
Which is the difference than the Tomcat. You wouldn't want to induce yaw in the flat axis.
That's what I've heard.
Called a flat spin.
Yeah. So we basically are inducing a flat spin in the Super Hornet, except it is completely controllable and recoverable whenever we want.
Big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also do a vertical pirouette where we do the same thing, just in the vertical plane, vice the horizontal plane. We get to keep the canopy of the aircraft on the crowd, so the crowd gets to see that yawing motion, and they really get to see how maneuverable the Super Hornet is.
So how's the Super Hornet in terms of thrust to weight? How's it in the vertical axis?
When we are performing in our, what we call demo configured Super Hornet, we have the pylons taken off the jet, we have the center line taken off the jet, and eventually, when we burn enough gas, we'll get to above a 1-to-1 thrust to weight ratio pretty quickly. In the fleet configured Super Hornets with the centerline fuel tank and the pylons, and especially carrying any kind of weapons, it's much harder to get down to that 1-to-1 thrust to weight ratio. It's almost when we're getting closer to min fuel, and that's why one of the Super Hornet's strengths is fighting at very slow speed. And that's another thing that we demonstrate when we do our demo flight, is we'll do our high alpha pass. And just yesterday with this wind, Shirani, who will be performing on Sunday, he got the ground speed down to 85 knots.
So would you say, because my audience likes to talk about 1v1s, and we've got a lot of DCS flyers that want to
absolutely
figure out how to beat the other guy. So you just mentioned that the Super Hornet is good in the slow speed fight arena. Would you say that's your advantage? Do you want to drive your opponent slow, all things being equal?
We want to control the fight as best we can, and if we see an advantage, and it's something where we can take advantage of, where we have a higher energy state, then great, we will. But the Super Hornet flies extremely well in slow speeds, and as a comparison, the max performance of the F-16 is in slow speed is 25 alpha, and ours is 34 alpha. That 9 extra degrees gets us, that slower amount of knots, so we can start working our way aft and employ weapons.
So what's your job at the RAG? What phase are you running? Besides being the demo guy, what else are you doing over there?
Most of the instructors are qualified to teach numerous phases, from transition phase, what we call it, when the students first come to just learn the Super Hornet, into strike phase, which is I would say the biggest jump for them. It's where going all through flight school. Up until they're done with transition in the RAG, they're just learning how to fly, and now they're finally learning how to fight the jet. So it really gets a little bit more complex and challenging for them.
So strike phase, dumb bombs, are you doing any AGMs, any SEAD stuff, precision bombs, or is that all in the fleet?
No, so we'll start training them on precision guided munitions. We'll start having them work with our FLIRs. We'll have them work with our joint direct attack munitions, our JDAMs, our GPS guided bombs, and our laser JDAMs. We'll start training them on those platforms. We're not going to employ them at the FRS, but we can plug in those weapon codes to the F-18 and train to them, which is fantastic, and that happens fleet-wide. So we train them in general purpose munitions, air-to-surface employment of the gun, smart munitions, and then we'll work all the way up to close air support, where we're going to put all of that together, and we're going to have them employ general purpose and precision guided munitions in a close air support environment. Put it all together, and they usually do very well at it.
So in terms of the air-to-air, what we used to call the tactics phase, I don't know if you're still calling it the tactics phase, are we doing like 1v1s full up, or are we doing 3-9 line stuff like what we used to call sticks and stones, or are we training to the capability of the air-to-air weapons that we will be using in the fleet?
We call it fighter phase now, and we will do a mixture of basic fighter maneuvers, BFM. We'll start out with 1v1. We'll do offensive, we'll do defensive, and then we'll do high aspect. So we let them do offensive first. We let them get comfortable with starting out with the advantage, and then we'll put them in defensive. We'll have them with the supreme disadvantage at the start of a fight, and then we'll move to high aspect, just going head-to-head with each other. And that's where we really start instructing them in the fact that BFM is an art. It is not really a science. It's important to understand the numbers and the concepts, but how you can employ them is really an art form. And once we're done with that, then we'll start getting into the air-to-air tactics, the long-range air-to-air employments. And one thing that I think the FRS syllabus does extremely well is the building blocks of, just giving them a greater chance to have a smaller situational awareness, and then we expand that bubble for them. And it's amazing the students that we get and how well they perform. They all usually, at that point, once they get there, they are performing exceptionally well.
So, of course, the end phase is CQ, carrier qualifications. Was kind of scary in the Tomcat. A lot of, unsats, a lot of pink sheets. Some guys didn't go on at that point. So what's the success rate of the Super Hornet? Obviously, and we've documented this on the channel in various episodes about PLM and the other things that you have in the Super Hornet that we didn't have in the Tomcat.
Yep.
So what are you seeing with the Cat 1s as they go through and see the boat for the first time?
So I don't have an exact percentage offhand, but I can tell you that it is, we are regularly seeing classes on their first time to the boat, all of them qualifying. We just actually last weekend had a class go out and do CQ, and all of them qualified. All of them with no issues. The previous class before them all qualified, no DQs. So I think that just speaks, just like you mentioned, precision landing modes, PLM. I think that that is a testament to how great that system is. And again, that's owing to, the engineers that are finding ways to just use the exceptional flight control system in the Super Hornet, and it has made landing at the boat so much easier. It is still a dangerous, task, as you know from all your experience. You can make it easier, but it is still a dangerous undertaking. But it has become much easier to pilot the aircraft down to the deck with that kind of feature in the Super Hornet.
Have you seen any Cat 1s that didn't go to the boat before they got their wings? Is that population? Because I know we had a test bed of like 30 guys that
right.
Didn't have, and this was the air boss, my good friend Kenny Weitzel. They were trying this as a proof of concept because we still don't know if the follow-on to the T-45 is going to be a carrier-suitable aircraft or not.
Right.
So have you seen any of these guys as we're talking about high success rates at the boat?
Yeah, so the way that they're handling it is when they come to us, they're not readily identified as students that have gone to the boat or students that have gone to the boat, because I think
it's a big mystery.
I think that would muddy the waters of the test bed.
I guess it would, right?
So we can judge each of them dispassionately and say, hey, we're gonna give you FCLP periods, and we're gonna send you out to the boat, and we're gonna see how you do.
But anecdotally, you're having a beer at the club, and you're like, so what boat did you CQ on? And you're like, I didn't. Right? That doesn't come up.
I think because we know that test bed is happening, we're not really trying to put the students in the position of kind of outing themselves on the difference.
Plus, you're seeing it really doesn't matter, as you're saying, the success you're seeing.
Exactly.
It's transparent to you. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it really hasn't mattered. They're all doing very well, and the fleet needs them. And our paddles, our LSOs at 106, they spend a lot of time training them. They do a lot of bounce periods over at Fentress, and by the time they get to the boat, it is very rare that we'll hear from the other paddles instructors that there was a student that had issues.
The last thing I want to ask you, and my audience always wants to know, how did you get your call sign?
So the easy story is the Grouse is the name of a very old surface-to-air missile system. It's a legacy system, and today it doesn't work very well, and it's usually easily defeated by a single flare. So they just made that joke because I'm actually, for a junior officer in a squadron, I'm 37 years old, so I'm one of the older folks, and a couple other plays on words. A grouse is a harmless little bird, and then the verb of grouse is to complain. So a nice little triple entendre of a call sign.
Many meanings.
Yeah, it does. And so I appreciate the versatility of the call sign for sure.
Well. All right, Marty Wilson, Rhino demo team. Hey, fly safe, keep going, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Ward. It was a pleasure being on here and an honor, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, a lot more coming from NAS Oceana, so stick around.